All right, who are we talking to next?
All right, let's talk to Ken in Bangladesh.
Ooh, Ken.
And we're spelling out Bangladesh because we have no idea how to abbreviate it. Hello, Ken. Welcome to the show.
You can just call it BD.
BD. All right.
Yep.
Okay. Well, what can we do for you today?
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure you can see my topic, right? So I'm just going to start with I do not speak Bible at all.
Okay.
Right. And I've been watching a lot of your shows, and I've been listening to what you guys say. So as a non-Bible native, why is it that all the other thou shalt are called commandments, but the thou shalt for slavery, and then it's phrased as, does the Bible promote slavery? Why is this one a promote and not a command?
Ooh.
Yeah, good question. Eric, I'm going to pass this off to you.
Sure.
Because I think that you have a little bit more of a background in discussing this particular issue.
Yeah.
And also, I have to run real fast.
All right. Then I'm just going to zero in on myself, and I'll try and give a little bit more information. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. So, Ken, what I understand about it is that the thou shalts are specifically given as kind of, this is what God is saying, right? When you had Moses come down from the mountain with the commandments, those were thou shalts. But when Moses was still, leading, and this is all within the story, in the Old Testament, when Moses was leading the people out of Egypt, and they were in the desert for 40 years, they had a lot of other things they needed to do, and they didn't get thou shalls and thou shalt nots from, straight from God every time. Instead, they got it from Moses, who passed down this stuff, and it was taken that Moses was speaking for God. And so if you look into, books like Leviticus in the Bible, those are referred to as Mosaic laws, or laws from Moses. And so when you're looking at, how you get your slaves, how you keep your slaves, how you're supposed to be treating them, those are Mosaic laws that are given not from a deity, thou shalt do this, thou shalt not do this. It was given as how Moses instructed people to behave. If that makes sense. And if I'm wrong, in the comments, tell me and I will self-correct, but I'm pretty sure that's it. But that's why it's phrased that way.
I thought all of the Bible was from, how much of the Bible is not from God then?
Well, the question is, how much is it being said that, God did this directly versus how many people were they saying God is speaking through? And that probably is just linguistic. But if it entirely depends. If you're an inerrantist, which many believers are, especially many fundamentalist believers, then they would say that the Bible is inerrant and is in its entirety the Word of God. And so I think that's probably what you're coming at this with. But there are other people who are not inerrantists. And they would tell you that the Bible was written by people and inspired by God. And because of that, you have problems like, translation errors or people selfishly trying to put their own spin on things. And so they rely on trying to find the most accurate version of these old texts because they think that they're getting closer and closer to the source where it's less muddy.
Right. So in that case, I'm just going to say this. I'm probably not going to read the Bible because
it's not a great read. It's not a great read. I promise. You're not really missing out on much. If you want to hear the whole story of Jesus, where they have that, where they get most of it, you can just get that through Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. You'll get the all of the Christ story stuff. If you want to get to, and this is just Cliff's Notes, if you want to know about the whole in the beginning stuff, you want to go with Genesis and Exodus. If you want to look for the batshit crazy, this is what they're saying is going to happen in the future, which, just in parentheses, is a misunderstanding of what people were describing for their own time when it was written. But, you go to Revelation, it just depends on what you're looking for. You can go to Numbers and Kings and get, what was supposed to be written by a whole line of kings of Israel and how things happened there. But it just kind of depends on what you're looking for. I would not recommend reading it back to front.
I wasn't gonna anyway. But what I'm asking is, for the people who might want to read it, is there a version where they say, okay, these lines we're saying God said them, and these lines we're not sure? Does the Bible have that?
So that varies from one group to the next. If you're talking to an inerrantist, they're going to tell you all of it comes from God. If you're talking to someone who's not an inerrantist, they will tell you something different. And there is so much diversity in the way that it's viewed among Christian groups that I can say, yeah, absolutely, Ken. Get this, but I would just be talking about one subsect and how they drew the line. And I would not be giving you an accurate representation of how all Christians view it, because it's just kind of a crapshoot. And that's kind of where you get this whole idea of Christians pulling out Bible verses that only agree with their interpretations. It's kind of flexible that way, unfortunately.
Sure, I guess that is what that is.
No,
Okay,
I know, I hate it. I wish I could give you a better answer.
Yeah, no, I as someone that doesn't speak Bible but just speaks English, I just wanted to clarify what's going on here.
Yeah. So there is a Skeptic's guide, a Skeptic's annotated Bible, I believe, and it points out inconsistencies and things like that. And so if you're wanting to kind of, read it and kind of see how there can be problems, you can check out the Skeptic's Annotated Bible.
I guess I'll look into it when I can.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
Can I ask one more thing? Do you guys live in Texas?
Yeah.
We do.
Oh, I just checked what time it is there, and
Hello? Ken? I think we lost Ken.
Oh, no. Oh, that's a bummer.
That was fun. I enjoyed that. And I am entirely ready to be told that I'm wrong on every count. But we'll see where we go.
I missed all of that, so I'm going to be just as surprised as you. I'm excited. Was it essentially just like there isn't actually a thou shalt not own slaves?
No. Yeah.
The argument is like, well, it doesn't command it, therefore it must be against it. And the argument then is, well, no, those aren't the only two options. Actually,
I didn't say that.
Promotes it.
You should give that.
Oh, yeah. So the reason that I would have given had I been here is that it doesn't actually say in the Bible, thou shalt not own slaves, right? Like you would assume that it would if it was a good book, but it doesn't. And so it also doesn't say thou shalt own slaves, right? There is no you shall about, owning slaves as a category. And so a lot of Christians will take that to be like, well, God didn't command us to own slaves, therefore God is against us owning slaves. And that's a false dichotomy, right? There's a whole world between those two. And that's unfortunately where the Bible lands. It's in the middle, which is they talk about the methods by which you should own slaves and the way you should treat them, but it never says you shouldn't own them. Therefore, the most honest interpretation is that it allows it and even promotes it within certain structures. And that is a step too far for humanists who think that any kind of slavery is bad categorically and should not even be regulated. It should just be abolished.
The answer I gave was that the thou shalls they came down from Mount Ararat, but the rest are Mosaic laws that were handed out by Moses. And so you're not going to get a thou shalt when it's not being given directly from God, even though it's supposed to be inspired by God. The book of Leviticus and those laws handed out by Moses came from Moses, and so you're not going to get that.
Well, that's controversial.
I'm not an inerrantist.
Well, yeah, but
That's my understanding of it, and I'm ready to be wrong.
Interesting.
Call me out.
Okay.
Call me in.
Okay.
Call us and tell us how I was wrong.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.